Predicting. Predictable. Predictions.
Predict.
Predictable. Predictions.
Predictable.
Predictive. Predictable.
Okay, are you delusional?
What?
They were 2.5 point underdogs on neutral versus Minnesota with fucking Carson Wentz's quarterback.
Predictive programming, episode 4. Well, okay, we disagree about the strength of the Steelers, so let's let the money talk. How'd you do this weekend? How was the PNL?
Damn. Not good. Very not good.
It's too bad, yeah. Yeah, rough weekend for you.
Thanks, Henry. That's always nice to hear.
We did
that.
pretty good. We got Joe coming up in a bit. Me and Chris are going to talk for a minute, and then we're going to bring one of our traders. Joe's been looking at
Your traders, not my traders.
One of our traders, Joe, has been looking at some trading tools this week, so we're going to have a conversation about that. But we're going to warm up a little bit. Yeah, we had a good week. And I think prediction markets, I would say, had a good week. I thought South Park was a hit. And I thought the Wall Street Journal article was net bullish. What was your opinion? You asked me if both of these things, if I believe they were paid shills.
So, okay, I heard in a group chat from someone that...
I'm sure this group chat is full of complete brainiacs, too.
Oh, yeah, you know it. Someone was watching. They were watching the South Park live, and they said, "Oh, this looks like a paid shill." Because the problem was, they looked at the first 5 minutes where like Cartman was just like completely like describing a prediction market. You can bet on this, and using the Kalshi like clear interface. I was like, all right, it does look like a paid shill. Like that was pretty gross. But then you like watch the next 15 minutes of it, and you're like,
I don't think they paid to put...
I don't think, yeah, like, or maybe they did and just like took massive heat, but I don't think you want to make the joke that like Don Jr. is like everything, because he is everything, and it's kind of true, and like South Park is right there, and you don't want to like also hint on the obvious collusion that goes on that is like basically illegal and could potentially ruin prediction markets. So like I don't think you want that in either. So I kind of leaned at the end of it. Is it not being a paid shill? If it was, good job, because you fooled me. And then like the Wall Street Journal article, I don't know. Anytime I see a Wall Street Journal article that's something like a product like that, I just always lean on it to being a paid shill.
I know less about that environment. My understanding is the Wall Street Journal is a reputable newspaper, and I don't think anybody paid to get that story planted. But did you think it was bullish for the industry or overly critical? Yeah, it's got to be, right?
Of course.
Now, let me widen the question, because I'm actually going somewhere. Do you think it is possible to write a newspaper article about the prediction market industry that would actually be detrimental to it? Or are we still in all press is good press territory?
All press is good press.
I kind of feel that way too, right?
Because like, you know, I know we were talking about it with one of our good friends potentially writing an article about it, and about the prediction market space, and honestly, like, it makes you think. Like, I've done some like interviews with some people, and like, there's someone in the space that was just like, hey, I'm just trying to learn about it. They're like a hedge fund investor or whatever, and I was talking about, and I said, like, I think Robinhood is like very evil. Like, they prey on these people, but I'm not acting like I'm holier than thou. I love them because I make money off the flow, and I don't mind being that evil person as long as I get a little bit of the money too. And I think people reading any press are going to think the same, which is like, oh, this is a little scummy, but I can profit off this scumminess, and then they'll hop in. So I just don't think anything you're right could kill the industry. It could only help it.
Any other topics you wanted to cover from this week?
What is this roundtable? The CFTC roundtable. It's very funny to see Shane and Tarek sitting far apart and not shaking hands. The two giants going to duke it out.
The explicit goal of the roundtable, I don't know. I'll be honest.
All right.
So,
well, speaking of two giants, speaking of two giants,
I don't know if you can tell, but I take such a like, the medium is the message approach to all of this, where if there's a roundtable happening and Shane and Tarek are up there, and that's good. It doesn't matter what they say or what comes out of it.
That's fair. And speaking of two giants, I read from a very reputable news source that both Kalshi and Polymarket were interested in a company called Novig.
What was
Do you have any like thoughts on this matter?
what was the name of the reputable news source?
Sports News, I believe.
Sports News.
That was. Hey,
How many sports news articles do you read a week? Were you just leafing through? It definitely wasn't called Sports News.
What was it? Okay, I sent you the article. What was it
You
called?
did send me. I think it was called Front Office Sports.
Oh, Front Office Sports.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's very reputable. You're dodging the question. I want an answer.
I'm not in communications, so I don't really have anything to say about
Interesting.
that. But
Sounds like to me they might have made an offer.
I don't think Novig is for sale. I don't know why we would sell this company. This company is ripping.
Well, okay, I'll be a little negative then for you guys.
Why would you do that? This company is ripping. That's the
Hey, look,
that's
I-
the takeaway.
I use Novig even if I do get absolutely crushed on it this past weekend, and might have to reevaluate my life choices. But I'd make the argument that you need to consider because Pauly and Kalsh are so far ahead, and sweepstake is going to get killed state by state eventually. And if you can't get a CFTC license, how do you survive? So sell now and get your profit.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a year ago, people were pretending they couldn't pronounce the name of the company. Like, I'm really not interested
shirt
in
last
any
week,
in any
Novige.
Novige, in any bearishness about it. Like, we're still able to be very nimble and dance around whatever regulatory challenges happen. And now is not the time to get scared.
Fair enough.
Biggest day ever yesterday. That was good.
me.
I'm sure not for you. I think for just about everybody though. Everything is ripping everywhere. Again, like, it'd be crazy to think you're selling the top right now. It's not the
So
top.
okay, when the Super Bowl happens and everyone like, Kalshi and Pauly do like $1 billion plus each on it, maybe multiple billions, and you guys do what? I mean, what would you put the over under on what you'll do on the Super Bowl? 25 million?
That's a good
50
question.
million?
25 sounds right.
And you did 3 last Super Bowl, right?
We got to almost 4. We set a market on 3, and we got to about 4. And you're right. It'll probably be 10x that.
What's been your
right?
biggest game so far this year?
We have a few games that have done more than Super Bowl last year, just random Thursday night footballs and stuff. So you know what? It's probably like 30 million would be my guess.
Okay.
And December's far out too. We're growing and growing and growing. Maybe that's low. I don't know.
Okay,
It'll be big.
But I guess try not to get too.
But you're right. It'll be.
Would that not be the absolute top? Because okay, what's going to happen from Super Bowl till next football season?
I mean, I don't want to lay out too many plans, but I think we are pursuing a goal of being the biggest, most important company in the space that we possibly can. But there are a lot of ways that could manifest. It'll be, and if you have if you've been doing volume, having revenue, you can raise some more money. The war chest is 10x. Like it'll be a completely different situation. Like everything starts moving so much faster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Do you want to get Joe?
Yeah, let's get Joe in here. Let's get Joe Leonard. We're back. We're back in with Joe Leonard, a trader here at Novig,
How's it going?
and a very willing guest.
Yeah.
Predictive programming. Joe's been doing some research for us this week on some of the.
Before that,
Go ahead, yeah.
I want to ask Joe. Well, first of all, is this your first job out of college?
Yes. I just graduated in May.
In May, from the very shitty school of University of Virginia.
Great with this.
Who had a huge W.
Fastest field rush in the history of college football.
Were you down
trampled that
there?
Poor guy.
He was up and walking. It was all good. That's the softest take ever. It's like we're worried about Squirrel White because he's like in the end zone. Like should have caught the ball.
All right.
You don't want to get trampled? Catch a touchdown.
Regardless, I'm going to come a little aggressive here, but I got to ask, why Novig?
Sure.
And then follow up with more aggressive, but go on.
Sure. So throughout college, I had a background. I majored in computer science, and my background was in sports analytics mainly.
Okay.
So when I first started going to school, I really wanted to work for like a team, let's say, or like a third-party data provider. And I started networking in the space and found out about the sports trader positions at FanDuel. That was my introduction, I guess you could say, to sports trading. I had no idea what it was. I mean, I sports bet throughout college, but I didn't understand.
Profitably or not profitably?
Yes, profitably.
Odds jam guy or what?
No, I was trying to make my own numbers using like basic Google Sheets models, and I was going up against college bookies that didn't know what they were doing, I would say.
Okay. All right. I question the profitability, but go on.
It's not a great ROI, but it's a decent ROI. But anyway.
Those college bookies do not know what they're doing.
But yeah, I found out about the sports trader position at FanDuel and kind of just like dove into like what a sports trader is. I would say my initial thoughts on what a sports trader are at FanDuel is very different from what we do here at Novig, simply because we're an exchange and they're a sports book. But that being said,
Actually, okay, I do have a question. Explain, how is that different? To me, it should be the same.
no. I think that a lot of what we're doing here at Novig, since we are on exchange and we're a liquidity provider, is we're on FanDuel, a lot of it is market management. And I would argue that a lot of traders at FanDuel and DraftKings and all these different places don't need to have such immense sports knowledge or such, let's say, I don't know, a technical background as you would do if you were trading on an exchange. Same way you trade on an exchange. I would say you're probably sharper than a lot of the traders that are at these places, right? And I think that as you gear more towards Novig, Kalshi, and exchange products, the trading teams on those platforms are probably sharper than the OSBs.
Would disagree. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you think you're sharper than the market and you're trading, but
That's fine. You understand what
I understand the point you're trying to make, though. All right, fair enough. But are you not taking positions on Novig?
Yes, I am taking positions on Novig.
How is that not different than what FanDuel's doing?
I think that the FanDuel data science team is the one that is making the algorithms, and the traders aren't actually, most of them, I should say, aren't actually involved in the algorithmic process of producing odds, of making prices.
But
Like you write code.
Yes, like I make.
But if I have a 10% limited FanDuel account. If I were to click FanDuel on some niche markets, they would move off of my click. If I go and I click some Novig props, you guys are going to move off of my click. How is that not the same?
Well, I think the traders at FanDuel are not in charge of writing the software.
That's pretty automatic, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like we have Joe analyzing order flow and performance and coming up with theories and then writing software for the system to make it behave better, to, keep liquidity higher and all that kind of thing.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
Not to white knight for him, but I just know what he does all day.
Is your guy okay? So is your number? So okay, do you think at FanDuel is the number one priority volume or ROI?
Volume, I would say.
I know some of this. I think they have some metrics other than ROI that they're interested in. I think ROI is always like the byproduct, but they have a sense of certain metrics that are not exactly the same, but maybe more long-term healthy.
Okay. And then what do you think is your priority in Novig, ROI or volume?
My personal priority is ROI. So I would say that my personal...
Whoa, you just said you're a liquidity provider. How does that make any sense?
I still want to have a good ROI. I would say as a trader, just as you would want to have a good ROI as a trader.
Yeah, sure. But I think the more important thing is like...
Look, just because we're providing liquidity to the market doesn't mean that we're willingly going to take losses.
Okay, certainly. But I guess my point would be like, say you had a plus 1% position. Are you saying you might decline that because it would lower your potential ROI? Say your ROI is sitting at 3%. You don't want to take stuff lower than 3%.
It's case by case.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I'll ask him. All right, this is hopefully, don't take it that condescending, but I would argue that anyone working for any exchange or sports book by definition must be a bad trader because you can make more betting on your own. Do you agree with that sentiment or not?
I understand why you're saying that, and I understand your point of view.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of things to be said for someone's personal bankroll, and the amount of money they have access to. And of course you could build that up, right? And I think that working at a company like Novig or FanDuel, whatever it is, gives a little bit of a different perspective. And I think that from like a personal trading perspective, like if I were to go trade independently, let's say, or whatever, I would have probably a fourth of the knowledge I have now when it comes to sports trading and the world.
I think from what I've heard and experienced in interviewing people, most of the sports books struggle to retain their best talent for this very reason. And a lot of people level up over a few years there and then go to their boss and say, this is what I can do now. This is what I'm worth now. And they say, we'd rather lose you and replace you in so many words. And I think it makes sense for the business often because, as your people get more capable, your systems are built to support very capable people. And now it becomes very hard. Your labor is no longer fungible. It's like very good to have a trading stack where you can just hire 10 recent college grads and you don't have to train them for more than 2 weeks and they can start operating it. So I think a lot of those shops, I don't want to speak down on them too much. Those companies have some very smart, very capable people, but like you said, they split a lot more into data science and software engineers and then outright traders. And I think it makes their systems more resilient and sometimes at the expense of maybe talented people, but with more non-traditional paths there.
So is this you guys saying that Joe's going to quit you guys in a year or two when he finally learns?
It's a very realistic scenario and influences like compensation and responsibilities and how we think about people in the trading team and how do we categorize them and what kind of things we want to let them do because we do want to keep talented people, especially. But I think being a startup, we have a lot more room to say, okay, you're an engineer now. Okay, actually, you have like all these marketing responsibilities, or you have these professional relationships with, professionals or whatever it is. It's easier for us to do that, and we're more willing to like own the risk of like giving someone enough responsibility that we go, oh no, I would really hate to lose this person.
That's fair. All right, one last question. Then I know you did some work on prediction markets. What is your favorite part about trading on an exchange and least favorite part?
My favorite part, I'll start off with my least favorite part, I guess.
All right.
My least favorite part about trading on an exchange is that it's definitely non-traditional, I would say. Coming from a sports betting background, right? There's definitely a non-traditional aspect where I'm not used to seeing order flow the way I'm seeing order flow now. I'm not used to reading an order book the way I do on a normal sports book. So I think that was something that I had to get used to, but I would say I got used to it pretty quickly. Okay. My favorite thing is the competitive nature of an exchange is way more in your face than I would say with a traditional sports book.
Because you got to compete against other users.
Right, exactly. Like it's way easier for me to take a position on something and say my counterparty is wrong than if you were going up against a FanDuel, DraftKings, or even some PPH account that you have no idea what's going on, right? So I think like that aspect of where, I'm going up against the, let's say, peer-to-peer or whatever. I'm going up against my peer in this bet, and I know that this trade, and I know that they're completely wrong. Right?
So, all right, I have one other question, though. Henry and I made a side bet this past weekend, and I realized how poor my side bet was.
Was it the one you brought up?
Yes, it was, yeah.
We bet on where a market would close, because I thought I pride myself in being a top-down bettor and being able to read the market. All right, let's get into, you've done some work on prediction markets.
So let me give a little context. So we see Twitter is full of these projects built on top of mostly Kalshi and Poly market right now, but I think other PMs forthcoming. And there's this endless Twitter hype circle. But I told Joe, I want you to go look into a half dozen of the new products you saw floating around the internet and see if any of these are usable, if any of them could replace any of the tools we currently use, if it's worth us helping them integrate Novig data into them. And so he's been working on that. So, Joe, what did you look at this week?
Yeah, sure. So I looked at a couple of tools. I looked at Verso Trading, Polyam Trade, Polycule, Melee Markets, Kalshinomics, and then there's a user on Twitter, Caliph, who's working on like kind of like an API.
He doesn't have a name for it yet?
No, I think it's his own personal stuff. Okay. But yeah, I kind of looked at like all these different tools, and to be honest, my takeaway from a lot of them was that you could just tell these things are all like early stage, and there's not much use cases of these.
Well, let's start with what software, internal, external, do you use when trading? Like obviously internal software doesn't have a name, but kind of what are you looking at? What is useful to you for trading sports all day long? What matters the most?
So I mean, internally, obviously the main thing is just like the different code that I'm writing. I would say like that like outputs prices, and then our trading software that we use here at Novik. Externally, I use Unabated kind of just to like read the board, I would say. That's the most condensed way I intake like all the different prices and things like that, and it's pretty quick to grab all the different odds and lines or whatever. I think that a lot of these tools that I looked at think they're becoming like the optic odds or Unabated of prediction markets, but they haven't really grasped the concept that the reason Unabated and optic odds works is because they show every single sports book and exchange out there all in one place. Whereas a lot of these tools are, for monetary reasons, I totally understand it, but they're partnering with Kalshi, they're partnering with Polymarket, and kind of completely like disregarding like what the full market standpoint is, I guess you could say. Right. So like for instance, like Polyam Trade, like I was taking a look at this, and like we could see here like the Polymarket ones are in blue and then the Kalshi ones are in green, and a lot of the Polymarket ones have a lot of the information. It's kind of just like regurgitating prices and the graph that you could already see in Polymarket.
We'll get this up on YouTube, by the way. Sorry, everybody listening to a podcast. But Polyam Trade is basically an aggregator of markets across Polymarket and Kalshi, and then they have a lot of the price history graphs from Polymarket integrated, and less of the Kalshi stuff integrated.
None of the Kalshi.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like essentially like if I were to go here like Jets at Miami on Kalshi, like all it does is bring me to the Kalshi market. Okay. Whatever. Kalshinomics, I think this one has some pretty good like backing. It seems like they're backed by that like new Kalshi ecosystem that got released or whatever.
That's kind of cool. Are those guys writing checks to these projects?
Yeah, from what I understand, essentially like they're
this is like the Kalshi builder.
Exactly.
Something. We should get the name of it, but it's a good project. It's a smart thing to be doing. I don't know if they're forcing everybody in it to be Kalshi exclusive or not. That would be detrimental if they did.
That's what it seems like. Because like not only are they like, I mean, at least for this product, it's marketed as Kalshi.
I don't know. We're making that up though. I won't put that up.
Yeah, I have zero.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
So Kalshinomics is an odds monitor and insight tool, right?
Yeah,
that's what
I think like honestly the events and market information isn't.
Which one of these can I see? And if any of them, this is an important question, I think. Can I see when, like, okay, we go to the Miami game right now. There's like absurd liquidity on Kalshi.
Sure.
Can I see when it got to, like, here, can we pull up real quick? How much liquidity on both sides?
3 points. Oh, the market is 3.7.
All right, so there's like almost 5 million in contracts at a 2 cent wide spread right now. Can I any of these can I use to see when it got to this big? Like I've checked like right now on
basically when the limits went up. If we were in bank odds world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because that to me is a big tell, because now I need to know. I want to know what the market makers are doing, or also what's really helpful, and this is what I would be doing, is I'd be looking at all 16 NFL games and going, wait a second, this Sunday game became really big a day earlier. Maybe that was someone taking a position, et cetera, et cetera.
So the short answer is no. I think that another part to this is kind of like what I was touching on earlier, is that, well, first off, I think that Kalshi and Polymarket and a lot of these developers, first off, are thinking sports in the back of their mind.
Right. Yeah, I mean, why care about the thing that does 90% of your volume?
I totally agree with you. Right? Yeah, like I think that they should be focusing on sports and optimizing.
Well, also this also impacts because I see these Twitter accounts that are like insider news. Okay, well, like take this like halftime Taylor Swift market that happened yesterday. It was pretty clear there was insider trading like 3 days ago. If I had something that shot, oh, Bad Bunny suddenly got 100K bid.
That's a good way of framing the question. Of any of the tools you saw, do you feel like any of them could have surfaced for you the Bad Bunny leak?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think
Because that's really that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
right. Yeah.
And this doesn't only apply to like insider trading. Because this also applies to like if right now, like take this Baltimore Houston game that's coming next Sunday.
The Lamar injury, right?
If all of a sudden Baltimore pops up with a ton of liquidity on Tuesday on one of these things, man, I want to rush to the screen to fucking bet Baltimore everywhere.
Right.
Oh, just got an alert on it. No update, according to ESPN, on Lamar's hamstring.
So, no, none of them show that. And I think the closest thing that you're looking for is this Verso trading, which in my opinion is the best one so far.
You liked Verso?
I liked Verso, and I think
I think we can get the guy from Verso on. I talk to him sometimes.
I think that they're probably in the best spot to like succeed simply because they have, I mean, like all of them have these like BS like coming soon features. And
You
stuff.
think because they have buttons for features he hasn't done yet, they're in the best position?
No, I think.
No, what do you like about him?
I if you click into a market here, let's see. I mean, now it's just all sports stuff. So like, if you look, like this is what I like would like to see. Like essentially, like everything that is related to this market is like right here, right? Like you can check the price history, you can check the key events. None of them have what you're saying. Where like I could see like when this order was posted and stuff like that, which
That's like the most important.
I agree. Yeah. But the only problem with this is that now we start clicking into the sports events. I mean, I didn't even see this from before.
So you're saying that the news for politics stuff is pretty good in the integration of Verso.
Yeah,
There's like nothing for sports so far. Yeah. Now, and the interesting thing about news on sports for trading has become so optimized that if Underdog posts something, the market steams within a second, right? And we know plenty of people who just sit there refreshing, run burner phones that are alerting on all this stuff. It'll be interesting to watch all these new kinds of markets, like mention markets or whatever, accelerate towards that point of pure optimization and see who can actually build a tool that goes from, meaningful tweet or data point that would influence one of these brand new market types to actual market impact as fast as possible. So Verso has some kind of news integration going that you thought was interesting. Did anybody else do news integration in a way that you thought was good? Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So this is the problem I have with these things. If I know everyone talks about like, oh, the great game of exchange, it's going to basically be two users having the same information, coming up with different opinions and battling it out on the exchange. That is just not what happens in practice. What happens in practice is someone has a piece of information that the other party doesn't have, and they screw over the other party. And whether it not be true, like insider information like Bad Bunny, but even information such as like, I know this one NFL player's injury better because I'm more in tune with it and I know how to find the deep pulls, and that's what makes the market. So like I just don't think this could ever come out to widespread usage, because if everyone has the same information, how is there edge to be had?
I think that first off, we already see that in sports. Like the information
You're describing sports.
You're describing what sports trading is already. And I think that your opinion on mention markets and like all of that different stuff is completely valid, and I actually agree with you. And that's part of the reason why I don't think that like these other categories or whatever they have will pop off as much as like sports will. I know they try to like push all of that, but I just don't see it happening. But yeah, and then of course like that Caliph API router from like a developer perspective, just dealing with like Kalshi's documents and all that stuff, like pulling from their API is like actually obnoxious, and they're not.
It's wild because so much respect for the tech stack there in general.
Oh yeah. Like
the API is like
they were
astonishingly
using
bad.
like PSS signing, like they were, but like I don't know, like they were like their crypto signing method. Like I was looking it up, and it just came out in like 2018, and it's like this crypto signing method that I've never heard of. I had to like reach out to a professor to like understand it, like, and he didn't know what I was talking about. But yeah. But anyway, that like router, I think from like a developer perspective, will make everything a lot easier because it'll be similar to like what Optic Odds' API is, and like if people are like used to using that, then they'll understand.
The fact that CFTC regulation though opens you up to execution happening without being directly on the platform, which has never really been possible with sportsbooks, is so huge. I don't think people grasp that, how big a deal that's going to be. Like I've been talking to some people at Bloomberg in the alt data department this week about getting sports markets up on the terminal. Just like my like pitching, you know, like you guys should really do this. But there's no reason you couldn't be executing those trades on a Bloomberg terminal. You know, like that.
That would be sick.
I think like I think the Bulls have some points. Like you got to think a little creatively here. Like some of this could be really sick.
I don't know. I just don't buy
look how big Chris's eyes are right now.
I just don't.
He looks
buy
like he's on
the
ecstasy.
whole like alternate market. Like I don't buy it. Like I just don't.
I mean,
I don't see a world where like a rec gets so excited that like Mr. B said something in a video and they get so hyped about it.
I wasn't thinking about that. Honestly, what I was thinking of is the guy I worked at Family House. He bets sports, and like I could totally see him pulling up his Bloomberg terminal and being like, "Man, I'm a fire here for once." Like, you know, screw it.
And I think Joe is totally right that like sports is in many ways at a super efficient state. Especially like you think about NFL, and there's more volume than ever on it. Like it's good to have efficiency.
Well, the thing that's makes me very bullish though is we talked about this last episode is the Fed news, and that is whoa. Why did you?
Are you talking about like the volume it did?
Well, that actually no, not only that, but like it actually becoming like very actively traded. Like I actually for the first time see like the purpose of like whenever they like, you know, the whole pitch of prediction market is like, oh, you can use it as hedging instruments, and like, you know, the good people of Kansas City we're betting on Baltimore to get to hedge out, you know, the Kansas City economy. So which we all know is like a farce, but actually like hedging out what Powell does if he cuts 25 bips, 50 bips, or zero is very real in finance, like extremely real. And if that was on a Bloomberg terminal and you could see that like, oh, it's priced at this percentage and I can hedge it out, that would be enormous. And in my opinion, like that would be very, very big.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. I just think that I
actually have to execute on this idea. But like this is literally one text I sent to a buddy being like, shop this around.
Just like messing around.
Like, yeah, I'm on
If you
it.
could get that,
Yeah, no. I mean a little.
if you could actually get that on a Bloomberg terminal, and it got to the point where it was like millions deep in liquidity, I could totally see.
Everyone's just focused on the sports markets on the Bloomberg terminals.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. Can I tell you? I don't know if I should even tell the story. I'll tell the story. What the hell? The first support ticket at Bloomberg that ever mentioned Bitcoin.
No.
Okay, so I looked this up when I worked there. There's somebody back in, it was like 2011 or something, complained that their machine was running really slow. The terminal was running super slow. And an engineer looked into it and they were like, yeah, this guy's computer is using all of its CPU cycles on a task called Bitcoin. Tell them to quit the Bitcoin task. They worked at like JP Morgan or something. You know what I mean? They're a corporate client. And the customer support person is like, okay, I'll advise them that. And then the next day, 9 a.m., there's an update and it says, the user will not stop running the Bitcoin test. Like that is not an acceptable resolution. They would rather just quit this job. And yeah, that was pretty cool. So just another way of saying maybe we're early. All right, let's wrap it up there. Joe, thanks for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Later.